Happiness is precious because it is not something that stays with us constantly, and we appreciate it all the more because of its transience. Yet, it is a paradox of human nature that we find comfort in our sorrows, as if sadness were an old friend we cannot bear to let go of. Ignoring or suppressing your emotions of melancholy might result in increased unhappiness and a general sense of suffering. Whether you are 30, 40, or 60 years old, you feel as though your life didn't turn out the way you hoped it would, and it makes you feel really unhappy. Of course, those are all valid reasons to be sad. It's normal for everyone to feel sad sometimes because it shows us how human we are, especially in situations where we feel like our lives haven't turned out the way we hoped they would. It's completely fine to feel sad and allow yourself to experience those emotions, but there comes a time when it's necessary to move on and embrace other feelings, such as happiness or hope, and you'll know when it's the right time to do so. Sadness can be a safe place when life feels heavy because it gives you a chance to take things slow, think about your feelings, and find meaning in what you go through. It reminds you that we're sensitive and capable of loving deeply, and without difficulty. It's like being addicted to sadness without even realizing it. The tricky thing about this addiction is that it's easy to maintain, and you may not even notice how deeply it affects you. When you allow yourself to dwell in sadness constantly, sadness might feel easier because it doesn't demand much from you. All it requires is feeling sorry for yourself, and that can be one of the simplest things to do. Life is a mix of ups and downs, and experiencing various emotions is a normal part of being human. But it's essential for you to find out when to move on. You might think, if only I had been a better partner, we could still be together. Or if only I had worked harder, I wouldn't have lost my job. These if only thoughts can be painful and might lead you to blame yourself for the way things turned out. Or you might think that if you were still together, you wouldn't feel so sad. Or if you hadn't been fired, you'd feel more hopeful about the future, and you keep feeling miserable because it's much easier to indulge in self-pity than to remind yourself to move on while everyone has their reasons for feeling sad. Happiness, on the other hand, requires more from you. It pushes you to step out of your comfort zone, to strive for personal growth, and to explore different paths when your initial plans don't work out. Someone wise once said that sadness gives depth, but happiness gives height. You might find yourself in that situation because you've become addicted to the comfort of sadness. It feels familiar, and it doesn't require much effort from you. However, you might find yourself in that situation because you've become addicted to the comfort of sadness. After achieving pleasure, which is analogous to reaching the summit of a mountain after putting in some work, there may be instances of melancholy or difficult times, which are analogous to sinking into a valley. This is analogous to the experience of life. It is important to keep in mind that life is a journey with ups and downs, and while sadness is a natural part of life, it is about finding a balance and being open to the different emotions that life brings, even if you're afraid of experiencing sadness or disappointment after being happy. You may discover a place of satisfaction in the center of your life, but getting there takes work and effort on your side. Liberation from a state of melancholy. The first step in overcoming addiction, just like the first step in overcoming any addiction, is to recognize and acknowledge that you have a problem. Once you've identified the problem, you can make a conscious decision to overcome it and make positive changes in your life. Changing your mindset is essential. Let go of obsessive and repetitive thinking patterns that keep you stuck in sadness. Remind yourself that you've given yourself time to grieve whatever you needed to grieve, and now it's time to start moving forward. Embrace the complexity of life with all of its ups and downs. It's more rewarding than living a dull existence where you're always stuck in a state of profound depression. Each feeling has its place in life, and it's necessary to respect and experience them all. You should keep in mind that allowing yourself to experience a variety of emotions and taking on difficulties may lead to a more satisfying and meaningful existence. With that in mind, my friend, if you allow yourself to wallow in misery and become caught in it, you run the risk of losing the strength and ambition to break away from it. It becomes increasingly difficult to pull yourself out of that state and find happiness again the longer you stay in that state. So it is important to acknowledge your emotions, process them, and then take positive steps towards healing and moving forward. If you find this message meaningful and believe it could help someone else, please feel free to share it with them as well. Thank you for listening, and best wishes for a wonderful and beautiful time ahead of you.